Today is about drawing inspiration from nature. And so our check-in is a great segue to that. And so we'll do I've got a slideshow for you, and then we'll meditate for 10 minutes, and then we'll draw for 10 minutes, and then we'll have a conversation. And we'll just go as long as we need to go, as it feels right, because there's not, and we'll have a lot more time to um, just have a more casual conversation, which, oh, here comes somebody, which I really enjoy. I like working with a smaller group. It's kind of more intimate. So let's see. Hi, Eleanor. Welcome, Eleanor, wherever you are. All right, I am going to share my screen.
Sorry, I was late.
That's all right. How you doing, Eleanor?
Good, good. We're piled up with snow
Where are you?
in Denver. I'm in Arvada, which is just outside of Denver, and we've had like 2.5 feet of snow since last night. So
Oh, yeah, I talked to Jeff, who um started the um he's running, his internet is not working, so he's not going to be here with us today
yeah,
because he's somewhere in Colorado where it's been quite a storm there.
yeah, he's up a little bit of elevation. I've been to his house a couple of times, so yeah, he's probably inundated.
Yeah, that's what he said. And the his energy keeps going off. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, which is a challenge if you work digitally. So
that's right.
well, good. Welcome. So
Let me just
today,
get my. I'm going to go get my notebook. I'll be right back.
all right. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put this here. So today uh we're going to fill our eyes up with yummy, wonderful, delicious things. It's eye dessert day. Um, so nature journaling is, there's a really large tradition of keeping a nature journal, and you can find so much about it just by looking around at books and the internet and everything. There's a lot that can be said. So I had to hone this down to a few basic elements. But basically, I just wanted to get the gist of it today. Oh, here comes somebody else coming in. So there's a lot of healing to be found in the natural world. And this is a time in our history and time right now where we really need to plug into it consciously, because there's so much pulling us away from it. So it's a wonderful place to go and recharge. It's free. And we just have to remember that it's there to do that. And so I'm hoping that today's uh, group will be an inspiration to plug into nature and to fully recharge yourself with it. Okay. So, getting started. Um, when you're going out and you've got a journal and you're out in the middle of nature, it's infinite. And so one of the first things before drawing is to ground yourself in the moment. Really ground yourself in where you are. And one way to do that is to write down, make a note of the date, the time, the season, what the temperature is. Is is it arid or is it dry? What does the sky look like? Are there clouds? Is it gray? Is it bright blue? Is it, you know, um, what is the sky doing? What does the wind feel like on this day? What does the wind feel like? So really ground yourself in the reality of where you're sitting. It's a meditation to do that, to go and um, not just kind of have a generalized feeling, but get very grounded and specific about where you are. And that's going to really um, be a great entryway into the process of nature journaling and the function of it. So once you've spent a little bit of time to really get where you are, you have the opportunity to make a choice about what you're going to focus on in your first drawing or your second drawing or whatever. So one of the choices is, are you going to do far, which would be like a landscape, or are you going to zone in? Are you really interested in the bark of, like we were talking about, eucalyptus, you know, or a little bug that's walking on the tree, or, you know, it's all a matter of what interests you at the moment. And so keep yourself open to um keep yourself open to responding to what really is drawing you at the moment when you're sitting down and you're looking at nature. There's so many ways to go. And one of the things that I learned in art school was um, I made a little, you can make a little cardboard viewfinder. Just get a piece of cardboard and cut a square out of it and move it around the area to make parameters. Because the thing is, when you're outside, there are no parameters. It just goes on forever. And a drawing or painting, especially of a landscape, has edges. So a photographer naturally has those edges because the frame, but the artist for centuries has used just making a little viewfinder by cutting a square. So you could try that, cut a square out of cardboard. And when you're looking, kind of move it around and see where, if I move it a little bit to the left, the tree's a little closer to the edge. So I like that. But then if I move it down, I can include the water. You know what I mean? So you play with that. You play with choosing where you're going to focus. It's a really useful tool because it can be a little bit daunting to be outside and without any limits. So one one way that landscape drawing and painting can can be can be developed is bearing witness to joy. And I find joy in color. That the top middle one is by Richard Mayhew, and it, it just that is what brings me joy when I look at that. And everybody's going to be different. And off on the let's see, the bottom, I guess it would be right, is a Georgia O'Keeffe landscape. Landscape space is horizontal, human space is vertical. So that's just something to be aware of when you choose your paper and everything. I included a few journal entries. Not These aren't mine, but they're some journal entries to just show what it can look like when you use words and drawing, that they can just be combined any way you want. It's a very free process. So, this artist in the middle with the middle drawing became interested in the crunchy leaves and kind of wrote about it, and you could see they checked out their color pencils, what was the best color to use for it. So it's wonderful to have a place that's not precious, where you can just test out all your ideas and make your observations without any um, self-consciousness. I also included this one at the bottom left because a landscape doesn't have to have, it has as many details as you want or as few details as you want. And give yourself permission to do that. So with this bottom left one, it really has a feeling in it, doesn't it? It really, you can sense the day, and it's just a few lines. So it doesn't, you don't have to get into the weeds, so to speak. You don't have to add a great deal of detail in order to really make a painting that can be moving and that can express what you're experiencing on the land. And so you could get as many details or as little details in it. It's all up to you. Okay. So besides bearing witness to joy, we're also, as Zen peacemakers, bearing witness to suffering is an important part. So I learned, I kind of learned this from a woman who's a Roshi in this area. She lives in Santa Barbara and was there when the fires were happening in Santa Barbara. And she talked about how beautiful, visually beautiful these were. And her house was burning. And I was very struck by that. And then when in Sonoma, I also went through, I had to evacuate during the Sonoma fires. And I evacuated to my daughter's place in Oakland. I brought with me my watercolors and and paper. And I did fire paintings, and I have a whole series of over 40 fire paintings. But if you look at this top one where the fire is, it's really beautiful. And yet you're bearing witness to suffering. And I know seems like an oxymoron, but I just invite you to open your mind to see beauty in unusual places. And one of the great benefits of seeing beauty in challenging places is that you could bring attention to things that need to be looked at, but people get inundated and they can't look anymore. So you can use beauty to bring attention to something that needs attention. So the middle painting, that's one of I did a series of Syrian refugee paintings during, well, there still is a real problem, but when it was like really in our faces a lot, the Syrian people were being, had to move from their homes into refugee centers. I really felt that very, very strongly and didn't know what to do with my feelings about their plight. So, like with fire, I decided to paint it. And I did a whole series of refugee paintings that I did a show of, and 20% of the proceeds went to the International Rescue Committee. So it turned out to be a way to draw attention to their plight in a way that people wanted to enter and to raise money for them. So bearing witness to suffering has so many tentacles, and this is just one of them. Another artist who did the same thing of, bearing witness to suffering is that iceberg that's on the bottom left. And let me get what her name is. Her name is Zaria Foreman. That is an incredible drawing bearing witness to the melting ice caps. And she works for a number of environmental groups. And her work is all about bearing witness to climate change. And her pieces are exquisite. So it's something that may seem strange, but you can definitely see beauty in horrific things too, and it has great value. So I also included deforestation up there. There is something beautiful about the way the photographer framed that moment. It's interesting because the log is right in the middle and there's a circle around it, and the sky, it's all very visually interesting. And it's a horrible thing, but it's visually interesting and draws attention to that situation that needs to be looked at. And then there's the graffiti at the bottom, which it's it in some ways it's nature drawing, because humans are part of nature too. And we mustn't forget that. And the urge to create is universal, and will find a way out. So one way to approach nature painting is what's called plein air painting, which is going outside and with your materials and sitting there and drawing while you're outside. And there's a whole bunch of I mean, that could be a whole workshop, uh, how, different thoughts about how to do that. But you can have an easel, you can have like this one with at the pond, there's just she's just sitting down with a sketchbook. So it can be as complicated as some people have a little satchel of stuff that they carry with them. I recommend carrying with you at all times a little notebook and some marker that you enjoy working with, because you never know when an idea or something really visually interesting is going to come your way. And when it does, you want to be ready, because you want to capture it while it's flying by, or else it's gone. So so this is one way to do that. And that, of course, is Georgia O'Keeffe. And she did a lot of plein air painting. She carried in her, I guess it was a station wagon or a van or something. She always had her stuff, and she would just go out to a site and bring her canvases and paints and just stay there all day and paint. She did that. I have a book of hers of Hawaii. She was commissioned by some group in Hawaii to plant their flora um, and landscape. And she just drove around Hawaii in her van and took out her paints. So it's a kind of, if you like traveling, it's a really beautiful way to interact with your environment. So one way is also, and this could be plein air or not, uh, quick sketches. Um, you could get down your idea in quick sketches, and then if you want, you could go back and make a painting. If something moved you enough. So most artists do this. They just do, get the idea down there and really quickly. And you want to do it like before the weather changes, which it will do, or before the sun goes down or whatever. So your journal's just a great place for really quick sketches, not you don't necessarily do like really well thought out pieces and that sort of thing. It's a whole different approach to making art than trying to make something that's going to go on your wall. It's all about quickly capturing the ideas that are running through you. So I just wanted to show you some examples of some people's sketchbooks and how it doesn't have to be a finished idea, what you're doing in your sketchbook. Another way of drawing inspiration for your sketches and for your drawings is by using photography, either pictures that you take while you're out in nature or photographs that you get like off the internet or from a calendar. And then you draw from them. And that's a very legitimate way to approach drawing. Artists have done it since the camera was invented. Artists have used photographs for inspiration for their work, or to remember. Like, let's say you want to do a landscape, but you only have a certain amount of time. You take a photograph, and then you can work on it, and at your leisure when you use the photograph. So there's many beautiful photographs to draw from, and there's many places to find them. And now that we have phones that have cameras in them, I find that I walk my dog every day, and I find that um, I like to take photographs of, I'll see something and go, oh my God, that's just so interesting. So I'll take a photograph and take it back into my studio. So that's that's another way to interact with nature, is through photography. So we've been talking about landscape space, which is more overall and distant. And then you can also zoom in to getting the details of nature, which can also be very nourishing. And botanical illustration is one way to do that. Uh, uh, these are all studies of, there's a couple finished things, the flower and the apples in the middle. But what's lovely about botanical illustration is you can be at home, so it doesn't matter what the weather is, and you could still be communing deeply with nature, even though you're not maybe out in nature. It's a way to bring nature into your space. And so you could pick up a leaf and just bring it in and just really focus on it, focus on the leaf, or an apple or a flower, whatever. And it's a wonderful meditation. It's a great way to get really centered, because you're really right there communing with this piece of nature. And it develops a deep appreciation of the beauty and complexity of all of nature. So it's a great way to meditate. And then, of course, another detail would be animals, insects, uh, or horses, or the picture in the corner. Let's see, the right-hand corner of the little bird. That's Amy Tan's picture. She has transitioned from writing into drawing birds. And that's her thing now. She's really into it. She goes out with birders and they go out on trips, and she draws these beautiful little drawings, little paintings of birds. And that one looks like it might be colored. So in terms of materials for this all, colored pencils are great because you can carry them with you really easily. And then that's a whole thing, is learning how to pick the pencils and use the pencils and stuff. And watercolor is wonderful too, because that's also very portable, is watercolor. And it's also, you could get a very transparent stained glass window like effect with it, very beautiful colors. So those are two kinds of materials that work really well for nature drawing, both landscape and detail. So little bees and little insects and whatever interests you. And there's so many ways, and to give yourself the confidence to just draw what you see without having it to be judged as, well, that's not very realistic or whatever. And it takes a while of drawing a lot of horses or a lot of birds to get it where, it looks like something that's recognizable like that. So give yourself a permission to just feel the animal and draw from that. And nobody has to see your drawings. And that's pretty cool, because it's like nobody learns how to walk and then they walk perfectly. You fall down a lot of times. Whenever you're learning something new, there's a learning curve. So a journal is a great way to practice walking and give yourself permission to fall down, and you don't have to show it to anybody. It's your private journey. Another thing is weather. You can very much depict weather with your drawing, with your journal, and with painting what you're seeing. So clouds, I do a whole, when I teach watercolor, I do a whole class on clouds, because it's a wonderful place to start practicing with watercolors, because you can really quickly get things that are just really beautiful clouds. And then there's this middle one, the middle top one, which is very atmospheric, but look, it's just two lines. There's no detail in there. So give yourself permission to not have to put detail in to create an atmosphere. You don't need that to create an atmosphere. And then, of course, the snow, the beauty of the snow, and water, rain. And the bottom middle one is a piece of mind that is an electrical storm. And so it's not something I'm making visible, the invisible in that, because of course there aren't those colors, but that's what it feels like when there's that kind of storm. And you can get that it's a feeling. It's not an literal representation. of an electrical storm. It's a feeling of it. And so that's something that you have the option to explore, is what's the feeling of the day, not just what does it look like, how can I make it look like that, but what does it feel like? And of course, color is a very big part of feeling. Color, it definitely is an expresses emotion. So I just wanted to say a piece about this, from going from representational to abstract. So on the left side is a photograph that I took walking my dog. And I was just fascinated with how things grow in the middle of like concrete or things, man-made things trying to control nature, and then the dandelion just comes right up out of the crack in the sidewalk. I find that fascinating and very inspiring. So I wanted to do something with that. And also it's kind of beautiful, that little piece of sidewalk where the green is making its way through in a very ephemeral way. So on the other side is my playing with that whole thing of color coming out of neutral, and what feels like a scar in the sidewalk, life coming out of the scar. It's very, to me, it's very evocative. And so that's how you approach abstract. For those of you who are interested in abstract work, whether as a appreciator of abstract painting or as somebody who wants to play with it yourself, like Monet's water lilies were really pivotal in the abstract movement. He was the bridge between representational and abstract. And you could see in Monet's water lilies, if you see a bunch of his paintings, as they go along, it becomes more and more, less and less about a landscape and more about colors and textures. So that's the birth of abstract, is it's coming out of representational and just kind of getting into the weeds of the elements of the art. So, okay, I'm going to stop share for now. And okay. All right. So that's your slideshow for today. a little romp through the world of art. And so now we'll sit for 10 minutes. And before we sit, what we're going to do afterwards is I have a photograph, and we're going to take 10 minutes to each explore the photograph, what interests us in it, in our journal or a piece of paper or whatever it is you have. And you can use whatever tools you have, whether it's pencil or colored pencils or watercolor. So we'll do that. We'll do that after we sit for 10 minutes. How does that sound? Any questions about what we just saw? Now there's just 6 of us, so we can just.
One thing that I noticed, Jacqueline, is that I've been thinking about this a lot about background and foreground
Mm.
in artwork, and so I made myself a little note to, because I've been like trying to do the backgrounds first and then the foreground. But I noticed there were a couple of pieces where it almost looked like the foreground part had been done first and the background had been done later. And it gave a I realized it gave a different kind of dimensional quality to the to what was being done. So that was a nice little thought that came in, and kind of an insight to play around with that a little bit more, and not assume that I always have to do the background first. So
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great, Eleanor. To free yourself from any inhibitions like that, and to, I mean, there'll be times you want to do the background first, there'll be times you want to do the foreground first. You know, it's there's not one way to do it for sure. Yeah, Donna.
I was curious about the concrete one that you did, and I loved
Mhm.
your comment about it looking like a scar with life coming through. I really, really liked the meditative, metaphorical aspect of that. But I was curious about the technique that you used. It looked like you had used pen and ink and maybe some charcoal. And I saw the little round circles. I just finished doing a course with Deborah Absher where we were doing doodling on
Mhm.
top of watercoloring,
Mhm.
with all kinds of patterns, just in printing patterns on top of abstraction. And that's what that looked like to me. And I was just curious about your technique with that because it was beautiful. It was a beautiful painting.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, you got it, Donna. That's so with that painting, I started with I use these inks that are really saturated color. You could use watercolor. Um, and I did a wet on wet painting overall. And then I came back in and I added details. So yeah, that's exactly how that one went. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Okay, now here's our challenge now. We've had this juicy conversation and there's ideas floating around in our head. So now we're challenged to let go of this whole conversation and everything and just be in the present moment without without any to just let it sit down and settle down and just be with each other in this quiet way. So I will I'll lead you at the beginning and then we'll just all sit together. And after when you hear two bells, that means that we're coming back together. So letting all the thoughts and feelings just rest, just settle down like a jar with glitter in it that's been shaken, just settling down. And just be really aware of the space you're inhabiting right now. Be aware of the temperature in your room. What does the air feel like? What do you hear? What are the sounds? Without any judgment about them, just notice sound. And from there, be aware of your body. What does your body feel like in the chair or sofa? Just be aware of where it touches the fabric. Let your shoulders drop. Be aware of your feet. Are they touching the ground? Are they curled up, touching the chair? Be aware of your calves. And be aware of your full leg. Feel your sits bones where they touch the chair. And from there, just lift up your spine. Mentally move up your spine and lifting up all the way up. Feeling each vertebra. Relax your face. Relax your eyes. Relax your cheeks. Relax your jaw. And from there, be aware of your breathing. Just notice it, like you're watching a butterfly on a leaf. Feel the coolness of the in-breath and the warmth of the out-breath. And as thoughts come and go, don't get attached to any of them. Just watch them rise and then they disappear. And what is there when they are gone, when they disappear? What's left? Let's rest in that. Okay. All right. So why don't you get your self situated with your colors and then come on back here and we'll have some fun.
Jacqueline, I have to leave for a work meeting. I'm really sorry.
Okay. Good to see you, Sandy.
Yeah, my preference it would be to stay here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always good to see you.
Thanks very much. These have been amazing.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Um, Jacqueline, I too am gonna have to go in a few minutes, but I will definitely follow through on the work part of, I mean, the play part of what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
at a
Sandy,
later
if you're still here, this is for both you, Sandy and Eleanor. You don't have to be here you don't have to be here for this part. Just find a photograph and sit with it after you meditate and pull out what it is that's interesting to you and and let yourself play with that. And that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to have conversations. So you've got the crux of it here. If you want, we have one more session,
Mhm.
and I am open to suggestions about what you would like that session to be about. If you could get them into me, you can email me. Um, do, I think that, well, it's jacquelinek@vom.com, but you could go through my website or whatever that's on listed. And so if you could um, email me with any suggestions about what you would like uh, for the last class, what you'd like more of. And if you want to send me the artwork that you do today or this week, I could put it up on the screen so we can all look at it together if you want. That's an option. Yeah, I just need a JPEG. Okay, so let's see. Who do we have left? We have Kathleen and Donna and Joan. I think that's all of us. Is that right? Let me see. Because I've got share screen, so I don't have I don't have everybody on the screen. So what we're going to do right now is for 10 minutes, I put this photograph here because it's kind of odd. And I'd like you to pick whatever it is you find interesting in it and go with that. So whether it's the color or the lines or the shapes or the composition, whatever it is that you find interesting in this photograph, just play with that for 10 minutes. And then we'll get back together in 10 minutes. So keep your sound on so you can hear me when I reconvene us, okay? Okay, 10 minutes. Hi, Robin. We're drawing we're just about done with the drawing part. And then we'll talk with each other. Okay, why don't you wind down or wind up what you're doing? Very short little sketch time. Okay. So, welcome, Robin. You can watch the video when they post it, if you want. Do you have daylight savings? Did you?
Yes. It was just a problem with my computer. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll look later. Thank you.
Yeah. So, how did that feel? What did you see? What did you experience? And we're a small group, so we can just all unmute and talk. It doesn't have to be real formal.
One thing that really resonated with me from your presentation was capturing a feeling and bringing that, the invitation to bring that out, as opposed to strictly a representation. And I feel like that's kind of what I ended up happening in my drawing, even though I started out trying to reproduce what I was seeing. What ended up ringing most true was capturing the feeling of what I was seeing.
Oh, that's awesome, Kathleen. That's awesome. How did that feel to do that?
It felt liberating, like
Mm-hmm.
less like there was a right or wrong way, or yeah, and just more fun. It brought more
Oh,
joy into the process.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I mean, there's not right or wrong feelings. There's just feelings. And and so it can be very freeing to allow, because there's so many conditions on what we say and do. And we're always trying to do the right thing. Some of us, some of us don't care, but certainly Zen peacemakers. And so it's nice to have a place where it's a totally free zone to feel whatever you feel. And yeah, there's not a right or wrong, but and also the greatest art is art that both is skillful, but also depicts the feeling piece of like, you think of Van Gogh's irises or any of Van Gogh's work. There's so much of what he's feeling in those pieces. And and that's what we love about it. Not that he painted irises that are the right color and look like irises, but that he let himself oh God, just a second. I've got to decline, and now I got to find you guys again. Sorry, when somebody calls, it somehow hooks up to my phone, my computer. Yeah, so that's what we're responding to in an artist's work, is the feeling. So you tapped into that, and that's so awesome. That's great. Thanks.
Well, this is all very new for me. You know, the Zen aspect of it is what drew me to come here today. I feel like a bit of an imposter, but I'm not going to let that feeling um, interfere with the pleasure that I had looking at that photo. I found myself more than feeling is trying to see what was hidden, you know, and not to dwell on the color. The flowers were drawing me, of course, at first. The beauty that I could see there was a lot easier than trying to find beauty in that cactus that was behind, that was kind of wilting and a bit sad looking. But the interconnectedness of everything under the soil, you know, what we don't see, and that was what was sort of coming out for me. I'm trying to understand Zen. Do we actually distinguish between what is beautiful and what is not? Like, is everything, when you're looking at things, should you see? I don't know. It's all I'm trying, and being in the present moment. It's just all new to me, and a wonderful practice, because I feel such peace. But yeah. Anyway, that's why I'm here.
Wow, Joan, you said a lot.
Oh,
There's so much in what you said. The there's three things that I'm struck by what you just said. One is the imposter syndrome thing, which I got called on. I have some of that, and I've gone to art college. I've got my degree in art. I paint all the time, but that is something that has nothing to do with the painting itself. That's a cultural thing that happens, that something oh that happens to all of us. So you're not alone in that, is what I'm saying, is that I think that that's something we all can trash and get rid of, because it doesn't do us any good, and it's not true. A child doesn't have imposter syndrome. A child just draws or just paints, and that's where we're getting to, is that place of, ooh, that's beautiful, I want to paint it, and leave all that other stuff behind. So that's where meditation, of course, comes in really handy. And I really like what you said about painting what's underneath all of it. That's very interesting, Joan, and that interests me too. And that's where you appreciate art from, is from not what's in the surface, but what's underneath all of it. And that's what you appreciate when you're looking at a landscape, in a beautiful landscape, or some beautiful land, is you're saturating yourself with the life force. And I'm really interested in that, is painting the life force. And back to Van Gogh again, which I think he's one of my very, very favorite painters. He paints what you're talking about. He paints the life force of the virus, of the iris. I have a virus actually. Um, and and I think you're really on to something with that. That's very deep and very true and very beautiful. And then the third thing that I was struck by what you said is, well, is there beauty in everything? And that is the Zen journey, and that is the koan. It is. I'm thinking of like there's one koan that goes, and I can't remember where it's from or who says this, but the disciple says to the teacher, what is Zen? What is Zen? And the teacher says, a shit stick, which is what they used in Japan at the time. You know, they didn't have toilet paper. It's like, so it'd be like saying toilet paper. And that's a koan. So that's something that it is a very deep inquiry in Zen itself. What you just, brought forth is there beauty in everything? And it's not an easy yes. It's it's an inquiry rather than an answer. And so that would be a really cool inquiry for you to like look around like during your week and you see something and you say, is there beauty in this? And it doesn't have to always be yes. You could say no, you could say yes, you could say I don't know. But just to ask yourself that and to explore that, and I'd be real interested with what your experience is. So it's more about the experience of it rather than getting a right answer. It's about, well, what do you experience when you walk around your world? Excuse me, I got to close the door. When you walk around your world in your life and ask the question, is there beauty in this? Or where is the Zen in this? It's a koan. So a koan doesn't have an answer. It's an experience that you'll have. Yeah. Great insights. Donna, how about you? I know Robin didn't work on this because she just joined us, but
Yeah, this was really interesting. I'm really interested to know why you chose that picture. And I spent many years as a professional photographer, and I have to be honest, there's no way I would have taken that picture even because of that cactus. I would have been looking for the perfect little garden vignette. But I enjoyed meditating with it and drawing it. I saw a lot of things in it. And I think it's, you have to think about the context of your life, what you're going through. I think, 5 years ago, I would have seen it entirely different. In our Sangha, we've talked a lot about impermanence, and one of our teachers is just retired because she had an illness. So we've done all kinds of work with, even though we're a Vipassana group, we've done things with the Bardos, we've done things with the five remembrances, and I was seeing all of that in that cactus because there was parts of the cactus that were decaying and falling away. And there was a spiral shape. So I'm seeing sacred geometry with it. And I saw a circle down below with the growth of the green and the flowers, and the flowers were round. So I was seeing those kinds of shapes. And I didn't have exactly the right colors with my pencils. So I was approximating everything, and I was actually interpreting the picture in a completely different way. Where there was brown, I had to use yellow. Where there was different shades of green, I had to put in gray. And it was just really fun to do, even though I was kind of processing subconsciously and digesting. We talk a lot in Buddhism about digesting things, these concepts that we've been talking about in the Dharma talks that we've been doing. So it's just really like full on Dharma to me. I've really experienced that today, and I so appreciate that, Jacqueline. I mean, it's just beautiful what you've done for us today. Thank you.
Yeah. And what each thing that you're coming up with, all of you who've done this are just, that's why I do it. I mean, it's just awesome to hear what you all have to say. And Donna, I think you answered your own question about, well, why did you pick this picture? I honestly picked it very consciously and very deliberately. I had at first, in when I was creating this section of the program, I picked a really beautiful landscape. It was gorgeous in colors, and there was close up and there was far away, and it was just like a perfect landscape. And I thought, no, no, that's not what I want to say. I want to, I just want something that's not perfect, because for one thing, I want to give you permission to not be perfect. That was the major intent. But now I'm seeing, as all three of you are speaking, that there was something else at operation here, and that is that the ability to which you've all picked up on so brilliantly, the ability to see the beauty and imperfection within imperfection. And I didn't know that that's why I chose that, but I knew it was something like that. I knew it was in that general area, but you're all defining it for me right now, which is like, it's a loop. It's not just me putting something out. We're all looping here with this idea of impermanence and the beauty with that is just present, when we get ourselves out of the way, when we get our concepts out of the way. And that's my experience, is that when I don't, the more I don't limit myself, the more I give myself permission to experience in the moment, the more beauty I experience. And that's a pretty awesome thing that art and vision and our sense of sight can offer us, is happiness within even dark times, and a lot of artists have found this, finding the beauty even in the dark times, even in the difficult times. And so it's, anybody can see the beauty in a perfect painting, but we're stretching ourselves and we're seeing the beauty that's in the dying paint, the dying flower, not just the flower that's at the prime. And that's fascinating to start seeing how interesting. I like to draw leaves. It's like my thing. I'm really into leaves. So when I go on my walks, I pick up leaves, and I like the really old crunchy ones. They're so much more interesting than a perfect green leaf. And I think that's that opens up a world of beauty that isn't traditional, but it's more nuanced. And so I just invite you all to go through your week this week and just kind of notice things and take the time to take a second look at what's around you. So let's see, how are we doing? I don't even know what, oh, we're coming to a close. So here's what I wanted to end with asking you. We have one more session. I don't know who will be there. You never know who's going to be there, but if you're going to join us and are interested in joining us, I would love to hear, maybe even right now, right before we close, if you want, what you would like more of. What would you like from our last session here, which will be next Thursday? Um, what interests you? What direction? If you have any thoughts about that.
I feel like we're really on to something here at the close of the session on appreciating imperfection and how that relates to being in the present moment, not going with our what might be our habit energy of, oh, I'm going to wait to engage with this when it's a little bit more perfect, or when it's a little bit happier or brighter or whatever. But say, this is the moment I have, these are the materials that I have, and I'm going to be fully with it and appreciative of it right now.
That's great. Okay. So I'm going to write this down so that I remember. So something like finding the beauty in imperfection. Does that sound like what you were saying, Kathleen?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I really like the Zen exploration. You know, I read a lot about it, even though the group that I belong to is more of a Vipassana base. I'm very attracted to the Zen and have read a lot of it, and I enjoyed kind of experiencing it in this workshop. There was a couple of things. I loved the spontaneous prompting that you did, I think, in the second session where you read those short little quotes and we had to write something down really quickly.
Oh,
I
the
loved
haiku.
that. Yes.
Oh, you did.
No,
Okay.
you did something where it was just short little, almost like a half of a koan or something. And then we wrote down what came to mind. First thought. We were doing that. We were kind of doing, you know, first thought, best thought. I love that. And I think it might be kind of interesting to do that with art, you know. What does this make you feel like drawing? Just using your hand to kind of express it. I like it with words, but I think also drawing, because I got a sense, somebody brought up the idea of using the senses, and maybe we could use all of our senses. Maybe we could bring something to smell, like a cup of coffee, and how would we draw that? Or, bring in a flower, just bring some things with us or whatever's around us. I mean, I've got hand creams and lotions and whatever. So we could try to do a sensory kind of a thing. And then, what we did today was really good. There was something else that you did that I just really would like to build on. I think that was it, the senses and the spontaneous, the first thought, maybe first drawing. Maybe if you give us a prompt and we draw something very quickly.
Okay. All right. That sounds great, Donna. That sounds like that would be wonderful. Yeah, good. Good. How about you, Joan? Is there anything you would like more of, or?
No, I'm just enjoying every moment. Whatever you come up with will be all new and exciting for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. That's what I'm calling a mycelial response, because you're feeling underneath the ground of the
Mm.
whole thing. Hi, Annie.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I just got everything mixed up today and got the time wrong, but I go with the group.
Is there so if you want, you can, today we did nature. And if you want, you can see it once they post it. They'll post it, post this segment. But what I just asked is, and maybe you have some thoughts about this too. We have one more group meeting, and I'm wondering what you would like, is if there's anything that you would like more of, or a direction that you would enjoy going in for that next Thursday.
Thank you for offering that question, Jackie. I really don't think anything other than what you're doing. It seems fine to me. The development and the meditation I really enjoy before we do the actual work. And I'm working with watercolors today and some pencil. So yeah, I think maybe nature is really my favorite subject.
Okay. All right. You'll enjoy the slideshow because it had a lot of beautiful paintings and nature in it and inspiration for that. So yeah. How about you, Robin?
There's something for me following on from what Kathleen said about not waiting, but I'm not exactly sure what it is in terms of a session.
The quick ones, the quick.
Yeah, well, I found those really challenging, so I'm not really going to ask for more of those. But it's more not waiting for I don't know whether it's life, an image, something along the carpe diem, sees the essence,
Gotcha.
the feet. Yeah, sorry, not particularly with it.
No, you're coming through. You're coming through. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's like and it's kind of what Joan was talking about too. Is there beauty even in the moments that we don't perceive immediately as beauty?
Mm.
I just have a quick story about that. I had chronic fatigue syndrome, and it got to a point where I was just in my bed and I couldn't get out of bed. And
Mm.
and there was a window that I could look out on, and I saw spring happening through my window. You know, the little blue flowers that cover the ground, and the uh almond blossoms, and it was as beautiful as um any nature walk I've ever taken. And it was a real lesson for me in finding the beauty where we are and not having to go out and look for it because it's everywhere. And so that's what I got from what you said, Robin, is I think that especially as Zen practitioners and people who appreciate beauty, uh it, it, we don't have to wait for it till the world comes together and is all put together. You know, we don't have to wait to be happy.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. And so next week I will put something together with all of this. And if any of you have any paintings you want to share with me, you can email them to me. If you want to share them with the group, let me know, and I will put it as part of our slideshow next week. because that's a good way to be able to all look together at a painting instead of trying to put it up or something like that.
Mhm.
So, okay, well, it was lovely spending the morning with all of you. I swear, I'm just so happy to hear what you all say, and you know, I get a lot of energy from you. So thank you very much. And I hope I'll see you next Thursday.
Great.
Thank
Thank you, Jacqueline.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Have a
Thank
good
you.
week.